There we go. So welcome everyone. I'm Jay Johnson, or Gervais, if you want to say my real first name, and you like French, which I can't pronounce. And I, along with Ron and several other people, are the co-leaders of this, San Francisco Enterprise Agile Meetup or community. We focus on, large company, enterprise level, scaling Agile, culture, all that cool stuff. Not to say that medium-sized companies and startups aren't important. We just focus on the larger organizations. However, we do have a lot of people come and talk, like Mary Popenick and others, where it doesn't matter what they're talking about. It applies to any type of organization or industry. So that's what we do. I just want to take a shout out, and I'll send it out in the text, that we're also supporting this thing called the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. We have almost, I think, about 600 events now worldwide, and it's going to start February. It's only for the month of February, and we're celebrating the Agile Manifesto's 20 years. And we're going to have several events. Our meetup's going to have several events, and there's a lot of North America events as well. So check it out, Agile 20 Reflect Festival, and come join us. I think it's going to be fun. So that's us. Now I'm going to turn it over to a gentleman named Ron Lichty, which is part of our leadership team here, so he can introduce our fabulous guests.
So Chris Sims has been around in the Agile community for a long time. So I actually ran into Agile a little bit before I met Chris. I ran into Agile for the first time when I was at Schwab. It was 1999. It was extreme programming. I had the connection and the budget to bring Kent Beck down from Oregon to give us a small taste of XP training. And I didn't encounter Scrum until 2002, when I was also at Schwab and another team had independently adopted it. But I didn't really begin to grok the nuances of Agile until a few years later, and I was blessed to take my first Scrum training from Chris Sims. I may have taken my second Scrum training from Chris as well. I certainly took my first product owner training from Chris. I had met Chris a bit earlier. I was leading one of these kinds of meetups before the meetup.com existed, in software architecture, and another one in software development best practices. And Chris was a former professional musician, I just learned. He had transitioned to coding and then engineering management, and then to coaching engineering managers before he transitioned to training teams in Scrum. And so he was actually coaching engineering managers and doing better software development management. And so we had Chris in to give a talk at one of our meetups, probably close to 20 years ago. Chris, what do you think?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. As I said, I was blessed. I've had training from a few other people, including at least two names many of you will recognize: Tobias Mayer and the man I've heard was the very first Scrum trainer, Mike Cohn. Chris was always the best. When I began training teams in Agile myself, my goal always was to be as good as Chris. We've invited Chris tonight because we were talking about how hard managing portfolios is. And I remembered that I'd been part of a beta of a portfolio management class that Chris was pioneering. I think that was close to a decade ago.
Yep, that sounds right.
And he agreed to share a bit of his deep insight and magic with us tonight. So Chris, all yours.
Oh, goodness. That's exciting. Well, welcome, everybody. I am super excited to be here and to get to explore this topic of portfolio management. And we're going to explore this by playing a game. And so I want to introduce you to the game, and I'm going to kind of walk through what does the game look like and how does it play. And then I'm going to send you out into some breakout rooms, and the people in your somebody in your breakout room has already been messaged a link to your team's game board. And so that person will share it with the rest of you once you are in your breakout room. So now check your chat messages. If you got a private message from me, it's probably got like a Google spreadsheet link. Do me a favor, go ahead and open that up just so it's open and ready to go when the time comes. If for some reason I messaged you a link and you can't open it, like you're on your phone or something like that, don't worry. As long as you can paste it into the chat to your other teammates when you're in the breakout room, you'll be fine. But if you're concerned, send me a private message in the chat letting me know, hey, you sent me the link, but I don't think I'm going to be able to work with it properly or something. And don't worry, I'll send a link to somebody else in your team. But so yeah, without further ado, I'm going to kind of just walk us through what does the game board look like and how does the game play. So I'm going to share my screen here. And Christina, you should be totally good. Let's see here. Yep, and for those of you who didn't get a direct message from me with a link, don't panic. That just means somebody else on your team got the message. So I only want to hear back from people if I sent you a link and for some reason you can't open it. If you didn't get a link, you're totally good. All right, so here is the game board. Oh, and let me move you all over here so I can still see you. Zoom likes to put the pictures of all the people in perhaps, the least helpful places as soon as I go to share my screen. All right, here we go. Now I can kind of see you all. All right, so the game board looks like this. It's a Google, Google spreadsheet. You don't need to be logged into your Google account to access it. I've got it set up so that anyone and everyone will be able to access these. Let me start with a little bit of backstory. And all of your workbooks have all the same pieces that mine do here. So if you want to refer later to the backstory or to the rules or whatever. But here's the backstory to the game. So our simulated company's been struggling the last few years. And so the leaders of the company decided, hey, we're going to go agile. We're going to start using Scrum. And they sent all the teams off for Scrum training and the teams came back and they were super excited. And, we identified product owners and everyone's like, oh, this is great. Except for the people who were managing our portfolio. Like we had some program managers and people up there who were like doing portfolio management and they're really not very happy about this whole agile transformation thing. And in fact, they became so unhappy that they all quit. They said all this agile and Scrum stuff has just totally disrupted their ability, to make their big plans and execute and deliver on their big plans. And so they left in a huff. And so your team is going to be dropped into the vacuum that they have left. And your job is going to be to manage this company's portfolio of initiatives in order to maximize the value that will get created over the simulated time period of the game. So the simulated time period is going to be 2 years, and we're going to go quarter by quarter. So a brief look at our 3 different product lines. And I will just say that the names and the details are essentially arbitrary, just so that we can tell them apart. But think of this as perhaps, maybe we've been growing through acquisition. So these were, different business units that, we added through acquisition. So we've got the cities product line. And this is our old school business. We've been doing this a long time. It's a well-established market. Think of it like big enterprise software. We've got our cars product line, a little bit more nimble, a little bit more change in that marketplace. And then we've got our fruits and nuts product line. Now, this was a company that we acquired. It was one of the, splashy startups. And we thought, oh, we better get into that space. So we acquired them. And so each of these parts of our organization have 2 development teams each. And each of the development teams can focus on 1 initiative per quarter. So I'm going to slide back over to the game board here, and I'm going to walk you through how to play the game. Now, If at any time you need, more detailed instructions, like when you get into your room, if you're like, wait, what did he say about this? This middle tab has step-by-step instructions for playing the game. As it turns out, so does the game board. So here we go. And I'm going to start. Was there a question or a comment? Nope. Okay.
Sorry, I was going, oh, yay.
Very cool. I'm a fan of the oh, yay. Let's see here. Let me just open up the chat so I can see. I see there's a couple of messages flying by. Make sure I'm not missing anything important. All right. Okay. Yep. Looks good. All right. So here's the game board. Step one in, like a cycle is to increment the quarter counter. So we know what quarter it is. So it starts out here at 0. So I'm going to click in and I'm going to make it 1. All right. Step 2, apply teams to initiatives. And so we've got the 2 cities teams, the 2 car teams, and the 2 fruit and nuts teams. And at the beginning of the game, those teams only know how to work on initiatives in their own area. Now, later in the game, you'll have the opportunity to teach them how to work on other things if you want. So initially, the cities team, I'm going to come over here, click on Shanghai, and I'm going to paste Shanghai in here because I'm going to have the cities, the first team work on Shanghai, and the next one I'm going to have work on Boston. And the way I'm indicating that is I'm literally just clicking in to an initiative and grabbing the name and pasting it in. So this left section of the board are all the possible initiatives that you might have teams work on. And they've got descriptions. For example, what division is it for? What's the name of the initiative? What is the projected revenue? And here's a little tip. Strongly recommend when you get your spreadsheet, click up on the view menu and uncheck the formula bar. The game is actually more fun and looks nicer and works better if you turn the formula bar off. There's a cell here for actual revenue. Don't look in there yet. It's blocked out. I'll show you what happens with that. It gets revealed later in the game. There's how much work is remaining. Each unit is 1 quarter. So think of this as 5 quarters worth of work. And a projected ROI. This is calculated by simply dividing the projected revenue by the work remaining. So it kind of tells you like, oh, what's the ROI for this initiative? All right, so far here we are in step 2. I've assigned Shanghai and Boston to the cities teams. So I'm going to come over to the cars team and I'm going to copy Corvette, paste it over here, indicating that the cars 1 team is going to work on Corvette. And I'm going to copy LTD, paste it over here to indicate that the cars 2 team is going to work on LTD. And then over here in fruits and nuts, I'm going to actually have both of those teams work on cherry plum. Okay, so I've finished step 2. I've applied teams to initiatives. So for each team, I've given them an initiative to work on. All right, step 3, make progress on initiatives. So this quarter, every team is going to reduce the work remaining on the initiative they're working on by 1. So for example, Shanghai will have its work remaining reduced by 1. So I'm going to change it from 5 to 4. And you'll notice that the projected ROI is going to recalculate, right? So, right, that's good. Boston gets its work remaining reduced by 1. So I'm going to click over here, reduce it by 1. Corvette similarly gets the work remaining reduced by 1. So I'm going to click in here and make the 3 a 2. LTD similarly gets its work remaining reduced from 2 to 1. And now cherry plum's interesting. I've got 2 teams working on it. So actually its work remaining goes to 0. All right. So we've completed step 3. We've made progress on initiatives. And you might notice that the projected ROI for cherry plum is now done. Yay. All right, step 4, score completed initiatives. So for any initiative that is incomplete, so for example, cherry plum is complete. So I can copy that and I can paste it here And you'll get this extra little, bar from the formatting, and that's great. Indicate what quarter it was completed in. So I just have a look up here at the quarter counter and I say, oh, it got done in quarter 1. So I'll put a 1 there. And then it says, what's the actual revenue? So now here is where you reveal the actual revenue. The game's way more fun if you do not cheat by peeking at the actual revenues before you complete the story. So you're going to be on, honor system on this. So I'm going to click into actual revenue, and then I go up to the fill tool. See this little fill color tool up here? I click on that and I click reset. So that's going to remove the black fill color that's in that cell. And I'm going to reveal that the actual revenue for this was only 8,000, right? So I can go ahead and put the 8,000 into the actual revenue column. And then that will calculate the realized revenue. Let me widen my view just a little bit so you can see that nicely. So realized revenue is simply calculated by saying, well, we take the actual revenue, which is a per quarter number, and we multiply it by how many remaining quarters are left in this 2-year period. So in this case, there are 7 quarters left, right? So this cherry plum got completed at the end of quarter 1. And so for the remaining 7 quarters, it's going to generate $8,000 of revenue every single quarter. And so the total realized revenue is $56,000. Now, there's one other thing that happens here as we make progress in initiatives. I kind of forgot to mention it. When a story is done, not only do you get the money, but many of the stories will also allow you to reveal the actual revenue of some other story, right? So by completing this initiative, we learn something that sheds more light on another initiative that we're considering. So in this case, Cherry Plum reveals Chilean guava. So I'll find Chilean guava. Luckily, it's the next one down. And I can go ahead and click on the actual revenue, click on the fill tool and click reset. And I find out that the actual revenue for that's only going to be 2,000. Now, if you like, you can replace the projected revenue with the actual, if you like, it's optional. The reason you might want to do it is that it's the projected revenue that the ROI is based on. And so it'll take that number and calculate that ROI. And so that completes 1 quarter in the game. And where you are going to be picking up is your game boards are already going to look exactly like mine. So basically you're jumping in after the first quarter was completed, and you get to plan starting with the second quarter. Now, once we go out to our breakout rooms, you're going to have a half hour to play the game with your team. You're going to work cooperatively together as a team to make the decisions about, which initiatives do we want to work on. And obviously your goal is to try to, get as much total revenue by the end of the 2 years as possible. Now, a half hour is not a lot of time to try to play through 2 years of this game. That's okay. If you only get through 4 quarters, that's awesome. That will serve you really well when we get back and debrief and have discussions about it. The last little thing I think that I want to show you is give you a little tour of the initiatives. So these columns, right, are the initiatives for the different divisions: cities, cars, fruits, and nuts. And they're just all different things you could work on. Each one has some projected value. Each one reveals something else. A few of them don't reveal anything else, right? Now then at the bottom, there are some flexibility initiatives. These are things you could have a team work on that do not produce any immediate revenue. However, they give the team new capabilities. So for example, this initiative right here would allow cross-training of the fruit and nut team to work on cities. So if you finish this, suddenly the fruit and nut teams can now work on fruits and nuts or cities. Gives you extra flexibility. So there are 2 such flexibility initiatives for each team. So theoretically, you could cross-train all teams to be able to work on all types of products but you would have to complete all 6 of these initiatives in order to do that. So these are initiatives you could choose to pursue or not that will give you additional flexibility in how you assign initiatives to teams. And then down here are market research initiatives. These are initiatives that don't deliver any immediate value, but they allow you to reveal the actual value of any 2, in most cases, initiatives of a certain type. So in this case, any 2 fruits and nuts, any 2 fruits and nuts. With the cars, you have 1 opportunity to reveal 2. The second opportunity only reveals 1. Similarly over here in cities, one research initiative can reveal 2. The other one only reveals 1. You can only do an initiative 1 time. So once you complete an initiative, that initiative is done, and you cannot, complete it multiple times after that. All right. So at this point, I want to open it up to questions, and you could either wave your hands or drop something into the chat if you've got a question about how the game plays. I'm looking around for waving hands, and I'm looking in the chat. Ooh, and I'm seeing neither. Oh, wait, we got something. Reveals is done after. Yeah, reveal is done basically as soon as you finish an initiative. So at the moment that the initiative transitions to being done, right, the projected ROI says done, which is going to happen when you get the work remaining down to 0. At that point, you get to reveal the actual value, if it wasn't previously revealed by some other initiative. And at that point, you get to reveal the actual revenue for whatever additional initiative the one you just completed gives you information about. Let's see. Greetings, everyone from Nigeria. Welcome. So to clarify, only 1 initiative per quarter, only 1 initiative per team per quarter. So you could have up to 6 initiatives in flight in any 1 quarter if you assigned a different initiative to every team. Is the goal to try to maximize realized revenue? Yes. Yes, and Dennis answered that too. Flexibility initiatives. Their price is just like any other one. So for example, actually all of them are 1. So all of them take 1 quarter each to complete. What do you mean by teams? Our breakouts? Yes, I'm gonna, in just a minute or 2, I'm gonna break this great big group that we're in into smaller breakout groups. Each breakout group will have their own copy of the spreadsheet. And so you will play the game in your copy of the spreadsheet. Other questions? Okay.
Do you recommend each of us bringing up a Google spreadsheet in our breakout rooms, or sharing the screen with it?
I recommend, so either could work. My recommendation would be to have everybody logged into it if that's possible for your team. Because that way you could have multiple people helping out. For example, as stories get done, you might want to have one person who is finishing stories while somebody else, for example, is entering completed initiatives into the step 4 section. So you may find that helpful.
Terrific.
Okay.
Yeah, what you don't want to do is have everybody in the team making changes to the same things. So if you're more than one person is doing it, you're going to want to kind of assign roles or break out the work however you want, so you're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah. All right. And I want to do just a real quick call. Oh, I also want to introduce 2 assistants that I've got here with me tonight. So there is Dennis Posey. Wave your hands, Dennis. and there is Paula Espinosa. And so they are going to be available along with me to answer questions. So if you get into your breakout room and something doesn't seem right, or you're confused, or you're not sure about what you should do next, in the bottom of your Zoom window, there's going to be a button that says request help from the host. Go ahead and push that button, and one of the three of us will materialize and answer your questions. All right, and I want to do just a quick call out and make sure that people have their spreadsheets. So Ron, do you have a copy of the spreadsheet for team 1?
I do.
Okay, Patricia, do you have a copy of the spreadsheet for team 2?
I do.
All right, Dan, do you have a copy of the spreadsheet for team 3? Dan Weiss.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, very good. Next up, Dale Ellis. Do you have a copy of the spreadsheet for, where's Dale? Dale, are you here? And do you have a copy of the spreadsheet for your team?
Yes, I am here, and yes, I do have a copy of the spreadsheet for my team.
Which one do you have? Just want to make sure we got this right here.
Oh, where would I find the number on?
Up at it'd be the name of the spreadsheet up at the top.
Oh, team 4.
Okay, let me, let's see. Boom. Okay, good, very good. Let's see, Tammy, do you have the team 5 spreadsheet?
I have team 6.
You have team 6. Okay. Oh, yes, you should. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong place. Okay, and Aaron, do you have the team 7?
Yep,
okay.
I do.
Excellent. All right, we have our teams. They have their spreadsheets. I'm going to send you off. There'll be a 30-minute time period for actually doing the work of the game. Like I say, if you have questions, you need help, click on that request help from a host button at the bottom, and one of us will show up to give you a hand and have fun. Off you go.
So Paula was saying she did not see the ask for help button at the bottom of her screen. I did see it. So I don't know if
Interesting that that's different for the two of you. So let me double check that you are both. Oh, that's because Paula is a co-host, but you are not yet. All right. So now, Dennis, you are a co-host. And I think that's going to assist us in being able to respond to requests for help. So,
we
hey,
need to be watching the breakout rooms window in order to see those requests for help. Do you know how they appear?
I don't think so. So when I'm host, they just pop up for me. Now, it'll be interesting is to see with you being co-host, do they pop up? Oh, good. Did any of you get a pop-up with a room asking for help?
No.
All right. Could one of you go join room 5? Because they're
Room
asking
5.
for help.
Room 5. Click room 5. Join.
All right. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Thanks for coming and helping.
Yeah, absolutely. There's what, 38 people or 36 people at this point?
Um,
I think it's hard to tell when they're all in breakout rooms, but
let's see. Hopefully Dennis is there. So I just got another request for help. Let me peek and just see if Dennis is in that room. Yep, Dennis is in there. Okay, they keep asking for help. I'm going to join them. If anyone shows up here, just tell them I'll be right back.
Okay.
So there was a learning. So that team had a problem where they didn't have their link. I really thought I'd gone through and made sure everybody had their links, but maybe I.
So where would their link normally show up? As part of the room creation or what?
I was private messaging the links to people as they were joining the main event at the beginning.
Okay.
So the very first people that joined got their links. So it's possible that I sent someone the wrong link, or it's possible that
that person left, or
yeah. So a learning here is maybe when if we get another request like that before I send one of you off, I will message you that team's link. Just so that way you've got it. Although let me actually I have the ability to look in and see all the different team spreadsheets to see if they're going. They all seem to be off and running. So it looks like everybody else does have their link. So if you drop into a room, actually, they should have their link and be able to share it with you. Because all the other teams have successfully shared their links and they have multiple people playing the game.
It would be neat if there was a way when you created the breakout rooms in Zoom to populate it with a link or something.
That would be super useful.
One of the things that we did for our convening yesterday is that we had a document that actually had had all of the links, like room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we could click on our own link.
Yeah, and I've done that with some exercises, and I don't know why for this one I was worried about people like clicking on the wrong links, but you know what? I might just need to get over my little control freak self.
Do you want to assign David Bacon somewhere?
Oh, hey David, how you doing?
Great. Good, Chris. I haven't seen you in, God, what, 5 years probably.
Well, it's good to see you. So we are playing a game and it's just starting. It's a pretty easy game. So I'm going to have you join a team and that team will be able to get you up to speed.
Thank you.
You are joining team 6. Go ahead.
Chris left.
He beamed himself up.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
Let me try that again. Instead of me joining
That's
team
kind of funny.
6, let me have you join team 6.
Oh, beam me up.
There we go. I bet that worked a lot better. As soon as I clicked on it and like it said transporting now to room 7, I'm like, oh man.
So when he was unassigned, there was a thing that said assigned to, and I was going to try to do that. But once he was in this room, I don't know, would you drag them or how do you?
Oh, so the way you do it is, you click on their name, there's an assign to, and then a list of rooms pops up and you just click on the room you want to assign them to.
Okay, yeah, I see it now. Yeah. And I was going to do it, but after you disappeared, but then I suddenly got that little swirly of death symbol.
Oh, the swirly of death.
So is this the turnout you expected?
Yeah, it's about what I thought.
We have 16.
Hey, Jan. Welcome, Jan. Oh, can't hear you.
Not connected to audio yet.
Oh, okay. Jan, when you get your audio working, let us know. But yeah, this is about what I thought would be here. Oh, I see. So Jan is actually probably just, so she's in room 5. But sometimes I've had this happen where people are having internet connectivity problems and they have like a ghost appearance in the main room.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so they had like 120 or 125 RSVPs. And so I made enough game boards that like if everyone showed up, I'd have enough. But yeah, I expected 30 to 50%.
So yeah, well, I was briefly in that room 5, and they had a lot of negative talk. I noticed that they only have 3 people left.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this on my iPad.
well, that is a problem.
Really? I thought Google Docs worked fine on.
Well, maybe they do. Yeah. Yeah. But I could imagine if you have a less friendly platform, like maybe an iPad or something, that maybe.
I think they had that, and that combined with nobody having the link, I think that kind of set them up for not a rousing success.
Yeah. Well.
How did the spreadsheets look?
So Team 5 is actively doing stuff in their spreadsheet, so that's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Yeah, so let's see. So, and do you all want copies of the links so you can peek in on them too?
Ah.
All right. Let's see. So I'll just start dropping them in the chat. Oh, first let's get Munwei. Hey, Munwei.
Hello. Sorry.
No, you're fine. We are playing a game, and I'm going to drop you into a team, and they will get you up to speed. It's an easy game. They'll get you up to speed.
Yeah,
really
it's
quick.
a cooperative kind of thing, so it's not like you'd be in any trouble starting late.
All right.
Thank you.
You are joining Team 7. Go have fun. Oh, wait. No. Hold on. I almost joined Team 7.
Almost did it again, huh?
I almost did it again. There we go. All right. So speaking of Team 7, here comes the Team 7 link.
Oh, they're on quarter 2. I see that.
Okay, so now I'll grab the Team 6. So I'm just going to start at 7 and work my way back. Here, I'll label them. That might be helpful.
That's good. If we get called in to help, and we can quickly pull up their sheet.
So Team 6 doesn't seem like they've changed anything from what we left it on.
You want to drop in on them and see how it's going?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you hang out just a few more seconds so I get all the links in the chat and you'll get them?
Okay.
Because if I type stuff while you're not in this room, you won't see it. And I've only got two more to drop, so then you'll have them in your chat history.
Yeah, Team 4. Oh yeah, I can see that they're actually making some progress. Although they still say they're on
Quarter 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not getting bombarded with requests for help. So, if you all want to head out and just drop in on teams, see how they're doing. And then I can stay here and field, any inbound panic button requests.
Start high or start low, Paula?
I'm going to start with 6.
Okay, then I'll start with 1.
Okay.
Cool. So glad you both are here.
Oh, there it is, join. Well, everybody was doing it. I didn't know why they were all in the second quarter still, but some of them were still in the first quarter, but they were all doing it.
Well, what I saw in the one I was at was that they had done a whole lot of talking, and then they had just got started putting what they were working on. So I think like team 4, it looks like they've made some changes, but they forgot to change their quarter.
Okay.
I'm gonna run in there.
Okay. I'll be here.
Or I think, yeah, because Chris isn't there. Okay.
He's in 2.
Oh, hello, Dennis.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, doing great. Since the room that I'm assigned to, they're too busy doing whatever they're doing, I figured I'll just come back out here and see if there's anybody to talk to.
Well, we are here. So they were just doing whatever they were doing and not involving you, or they were talking and not playing the game?
No, they're playing the game. They're not involving me at all. So, I mean, when I went in and they were just doing whatever, so I told them, hey, sorry, I'm late. Is there anything like URL or whatever? And they're like, oh, it's in the chat. I'm like, I'm late. I'm in late. So there's nothing in the chat. And so they dropped me the URL and then that's it. And then they just went on whatever. And
well,
so
if
I'm
you
like,
would
okay.
like, we can get you the link that you need and send you back there, or you can go in another room, or you can just hang out with us if you want.
Yeah. Hey, Manway.
I can hang out with you guys, not a problem.
It's a fun game though.
Yeah, well, so I figured, well, they just sent me the URL, so I'm gonna read it. You know,
And you can pretty much follow along what they do in the spreadsheet if they actually do something in the spreadsheet.
yeah,
Because some
sure.
teams are still on quarter 1.
Which team were you?
Yeah.
Which team were you in?
I am in room 7, and they're in quarter 3 right now. So
Oh,
That's
they're
excellent.
rocking it. Yeah, I would recommend go hang out with them, unless you don't like them, in which case you can hang out with us.
well, there's no hanging out because they are very busy doing their own thing, and they don't want to have to explain anything to me.
Oh goodness, you want me to drop you into another friendlier room?
Nah, that's okay.
Okay.
That's all right. So let me just sit quietly and read because they were very they want to win. They want to finish things.
That's so funny. Okay, at the risk of making a sexist remark, was it mostly men?
Well, let's see. So there were 4 people there, 2 men, 1 woman, and the third one, I assume is a man because there's no video there, but I assume that's.
Okay. Yeah.
But the women, the woman did not pay me any attention either. So
we can also give you a brief rundown of what the game is about.
that would be great, actually.
So, and if you actually have the spreadsheet open,
Yep, I do.
you can click on both the instructions
Yep.
and the backstory tag and get this spiel yourself. But I'll tell you briefly.
So let me interrupt.
Go ahead.
Would the two of you like to play your own game? I've got another spreadsheet all spun up and ready to go. If the two of you want to play it, it's probably more fun to like describe it while doing.
That's fine with me if you'd like that.
I'm gamed.
All right, I'm going to drop a link in the chat momentarily, just as soon as this link comes up. And you two are going to become the new Team 8.
Okay.
Team 8 is great.
Oh, wonderful.
Thanks. So here we go. Team 8. Boom. Have fun.
Ready then.
Yeah.
Breakout room.
And-
were we doing
yeah.
it here? Yeah.
Well, yeah, why don't I send you off to, well, actually, Yeah, let me send you off to breakout roommate, actually.
Okay, 8 it is.
So have fun. And Dennis, you have the ability to just join roommate, right? Greetings. You are muted. Go ahead and unmute. How you doing? Neda, am I saying that right? Hey, Paula, welcome back.
Hi.
All right. Neda, can you hear me? Oh, we shall see. Oh, so Dennis is off with Moonway, who joined us a little late.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and joined Team 7, and she said they were so type A trying to win the game that they just didn't have time to get her up to speed. And so she came back to the main room, and so she and Dennis got their own spreadsheet, and they are now Team 8.
Well, Team 4 was interesting because, well, and all of them, like they're having one person do it. So like it's taken them a while to do it, but they were having a hard time with like understanding like what they were, or actually like moving things and doing stuff. And so I got them, gave them a couple of tips. And
yeah, Team 7 sure enough is kicking butt though. I will give them that. But you know, it doesn't seem like very nice to not want to help a new person. Hey.
So
Jaya, how you doing?
I missed the whole talk. I was on another call and I thought this would.
No worries. So everybody's playing a game that's going to wrap up in about 5 minutes, but I can drop you into a group. There's a small team with a couple of people who joined a little late that are like up. Actually, there's one person who joined late in that team, and then one person who's played the game before, so they're kind of an expert or helping. Would you like me to send you to that team?
Yes, thank you. I thought the meetup is over, so thank you.
No, happy to send you. Have fun. So yeah, so team 7 is totally kicking butt.
So team 4 just did something that messed up their, they copied what, oh, now they've taken it out. Okay, they fixed it. They copied like the initiative, quarter done, and actual revenue down in underneath Dorian there. And so
Oh,
it
okay.
messed up their formula, but I think they've fixed that.
Yay. Team 3's kicking butt. Team 2's doing some weird stuff. Let's see. Would you be willing to drop in on team 2 and just see how things are going?
Yep.
All right.
Let me open their spreadsheet here. Off I go. Room 2,
Thank
right?
you. Room
Mhm.
2, yep.
Oh, we're the first.
Yeah.
We had less team member, less discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I disagree with you.
Almost
Iggy is
there.
back.
Oh, look at that. You caught me sneaking off for a glass of water.
Yeah. Hi,
Ah,
Chris. How are you?
hello. So now were you all on a team that came back, or did you all just join us?
Yeah, we were on a team. We just finished. So,
Oh, rock on. Which team?
so the
5.
team 5. Yeah.
5. Let's see. Oh my goodness, 2.1 million. Rock on.
No,
mean,
5
1
is
million.
1.081 million.
No, up at the top it says, oh, that's because you added your own little subtotal at the bottom, which then is getting double counted. Got it. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you scroll
But
to
yeah,
the
let me
top,
delete that.
yeah, there you go. So 1 million, rock on. And you got through. So
8.
you focused on some of the big things. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Although was Shanghai only worth 25,000? Is that right? Yeah, it looks like it. Yep, it is. That's right. Cool. Interesting. All right.
So what's the usual number these days that you get for this game?
So it really depends. It depends a lot on, there's a team that's having trouble with their scoring, team 6. Let me jump in real quick and help team 6 get their scoring straightened out.
Okay.
And then you all get like about a 3 or 4 minute break.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye. I'm gonna use the 3 or 4 minute break, Sandrine.
Yeah, me too. See you soon. See you in
Be back in
4
about
minutes.
3 minutes.
Bye.
Okay. Thank
Okay, so team 6.
there, and that way we get credit. Whoops. Oh, well.
Or one, rather.
Oh, that's it.
And here they come.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't do too bad with 3 minutes to play.
we had one team that got formed very last minute.
Yeah.
And actually, Dennis, your team actually did quite well. All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, welcome back. So this is just a little feedback for me. I want to do a little quick survey, and we'll do it just using your arm in your Zoom window. And if you put your arm low in the Zoom window, that means, oh, not so much. And if you put your arm high in the Zoom window, that means, oh, a lot, right? So first off, how difficult and tricky was it? Like, if it was like, oh, it was really tricky, we really struggled, put your hand up here. And if you're like, yeah, it wasn't so bad down here, and anywhere in the middle. So just first time playing the game, level of trickiness.
Maybe.
Okay. And now, first time playing the game, level of fun. So, boy, it was boring and it sucked to be down here, and fun would be up here. And okay. All right. Very cool. So now let's unpack this game in the context of portfolio management. So I've got some questions that I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to invite you to drop your answers into the chat, and I will endeavor to call out some of the chats as they go by. Let's see if I can make my chat window wider. Oh, look at that. I can. That's so cool. All right. So my first question is, what would you do differently if you were going to play the game a second time? So drop your thoughts to that in on the chat. And if you don't have anything to drop in the chat, watch the other thoughts go by. And I'll try to call out some of the stuff as it flies by. What would you do differently the next time you play the game?
Pizza, beer.
Have pizza, a macro to automate beer, okay. Learning how to play, yeah, the first time you play is tough. Plan strategy and communicate, collaboratively work on Excel, build the app. I love this group. Analyze the expected ROI for each item to figure out which to do in which order. Check the realized revenue, smiley face, yeah. Divide up the labor, nothing different, we rocked it. Use a bigger computer to collaborate, yeah. Pay more attention to instructions, cross-train teams, to highest revenue potential area. That's a really interesting one. Spend more time looking at the initiatives, yeah. Yeah, we often have this bias towards action. Like we want to feel like we're doing something, and sometimes taking the time to like soak in the data before we make our decision, right? More market research, nice, okay. In terms of trying to like win the game, right? In terms of strategies or tactics that help you ultimately make the most revenue, especially if you got to play the game all the way to the end. Knowing what you know now, what do you think some of those tactics or strategies are that would help you make the most revenue over the 2-year simulated time period? So drop your thoughts to that in. I just typed in best practices to basically be a dividing line between the two questions. Go for the high-end cities. All right, so go for the big dollar things. Market research first, yeah. Reveal actual revenues, yeah, so more market research. Sometimes it's not the fastest job, right? Sometimes pursuing big initiatives actually is the right thing. Cross-train first. There's a lot to talk about in here. Good, it would be nice to try multiple strategies and compare, yeah. By the way, feel free to make your own copy of that spreadsheet. So if you actually want to play that game again yourself or with a group of friends, you can go up to the file menu and you can either download it as an Excel spreadsheet, or you could save it into your own Google Drive. Cross-train first, cross-train, lots of cross-train. Lean first on easy items, market research. Yeah, based on ROI, Dan has no friends.
Yeah.
You must be like a really successful executive. So let's talk.
Ouch.
That's not nice. And you know, that's not nice to executives. I almost feel bad about saying it. All right, so a couple of themes I see in here that I think might be fun to explore just a little bit deeper. So one of the themes I'm seeing is market research. And there's a concept in product development that applies both locally to a single product as well as at the portfolio level when you're looking at like, oh, we have a portfolio of initiatives or products, which should we be investing in? And the idea that can apply at either level is sometimes you should be building to earn, and sometimes you should be building to learn, right? Sometimes you want to invest the time and energy and resources at your disposal for capturing value, right? We have a clear way to capture a lot of value and we should go for it full speed and just, you know, we are doing this work because it's going to make us money. And we know it's going to make us money. Sometimes we should be investing our resources to learn. So it turns out in this game that, you know, the projected revenue is a rough guide to what the actual revenue will be, but it can vary quite a lot, kind of like real life, right? Not all the things that we think are going to be our killer products, the next killer app that the market's going to love, actually turn out to work that way, right? And it works the same for internal work, right? If you're in an IT department, right? Like, oh yeah, this initiative, it's gonna save us so much effort and time and reduce costs. Well, guess what? Might not work out that way. And so finding that balance between, somebody wants to see how the teams did. I tell you what, I'll walk through at the end. We'll talk about how the teams did. But finding that balance between investing to earn versus investing to learn. So I see that a lot. Any comments about that anyone wants to make at this point? Feel free to just like unmute and say, hey, here's the thing I want to say about investing to earn versus investing to learn.
One interesting thing I see is there's a tension between the things that you can get done soon, so you can realize that revenue over the course of time, and how the other things, the revealing and the cross training, to really get value out of those, you got to do them early too. So really balancing those two things, and then of course it reveals that other issue that the big items that are going to take you most of 2 quarters, no matter what you do to get done, they may never pay for themselves in 2 quarters.
Yeah, right. So these are real tensions.
I was
Right?
wondering why, with the backstory that was written, there was no real, like, make the most money the fastest, right? Wins is kind of how we went with this. But in the backstory, it was like people are quitting, people are demoralized. If you take a young startup group like Fruit and Nuts, and you're constantly throwing them at an aging product like Cities, even though it makes you the most money, you're going to lose them. They're walking off your team. So like, I didn't see any of that come into play on the sheet.
Yeah, yeah. Alas, that dimension of complexity, this game doesn't really model. You're right, and you're absolutely right that, you know, a real company is a complex system, a complex adaptive system, and the simulation boils it down to something that is merely complicated, right? So the simulation here, if you examine the pieces of it close enough, you can actually figure it all out and figure out how it will work. And you could actually figure out an optimal strategy. Although I created it, I don't know the optimal strategy. I haven't sat down and done that analysis, but you could. But in a real company, you really can't, right? Because in a complex system, the elements of that system, which, you know, include people and teams and things like that, behave in ways that are very hard to predict. Yeah, I like that.
You might be able to simulate that by changing the capacity of a team. If a team's been together, the same team for a long time, and they're getting bored working on one product or initiative, maybe you could reduce their capacity because they're just bored with it. Or maybe a team that does cross-train, maybe they're getting more excited. Maybe you can increase their capacity to kind of simulate that happiness, you know?
Oh, I love it.
I was thinking burn down, honestly, because I was thinking like the Cities team that's been in the industry on their same product for years and years and years could probably do 2 points of work unit
Mhm.
in a quarter, as opposed to a brand new team, even if they've just been cross-trained.
Yeah.
And you might also want to throw in there, they're a startup group and they aren't really motivated. So they're just going to like do the thing because they have to, because they were acquired, but they're not going to meet that 2 level of vigor of the entrenched team.
I love all the stuff people read into this. I love it. I love it. I love it. And move us on to this other theme that I saw in the comments, which is like the cross training and that sort of thing, which are all techniques to manage WIP, work in progress.
Yes.
Right? Because the more cross training that you do in this game, the more ability you have to reduce the number of initiatives that are in flight at any given time. And it turns out one of the secrets to doing really well in the game, especially if you take the approach of, hey, let's go after some of the really big high value things, is having multiple teams that can work on the same thing, so you can have lots of forward momentum on fewer initiatives. And relating it to real life, the game has, the 2-year horizon. Real life has a rolling horizon, right? So out in real life, getting those things that deliver lots of value per quarter done gets really lucrative when you start to have a rolling time horizon, as opposed to, like in the game, to simplify real life, we have a fixed time horizon. But still in real life, that counterbalance that Dennis called out still exists, right? The tension between, if we finish smaller things sooner, they're going to generate revenue over a longer period of time, right? Versus working on big things, but they take a long time, so we're foregoing revenue. So I'm curious, are there any teams that feel like they had some success with managing the work in progress, or even teams, how many teams even talked about it? Wave your hands if you talked about work in progress and trying to manage or reduce it.
We were talking about stop starting, start finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying to finish, I think. I have one observation. Like,
I love it.
It seems like your teams are actually at different stages of learning, because the fruit and nut, it seems like they're kind of like a startup, emergent growth. And then your cause team is just kind of like, growing. And then the cities is actually your mature state, where you will have the most bureaucracy. So in order to cross train, you also have to think about the mindset of your resource allocation too.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be cultural implications and all sorts of things. You're right. So my final question on the debrief here, and then we'll get answers to this, and then we'll let the discussion flow where it wants to flow, is what techniques that were effective or would be effective, right, based on what you've learned now, having played the game once, what techniques that would work in the game do you think would also work in real life? And go ahead and put this in the chat. What are the things that could optimize your results in the game that, wow, if we applied those in real life to the portfolios in our organizations, might also be effective? So cross-training, right, as a tool to reduce work in progress, taking time to train, yep. Focusing on ROI, absolutely. Yep. Oh, and for keeping people longer, absolutely. Research, yeah, absolutely. Start work on the bigger payoff items earlier, yep. And in particular, I think there's a really important 1-2 approach that combines doing some work to learn around those big items to, raise our confidence that they really are going to be as valuable as we think, and then focusing on them. Yeah, absolutely. Early revenue is more valuable. Absolutely. Yeah. Ooh, better estimating value. I love that. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. If cities are a monolith, putting many teams on it might be it's possible. it's possible. Buy a crystal ball, Patricia. I love it. I love it. And yeah, learning how actual value is either higher or lower than potential value. Andy, excellent. There's a book I recently read. I've been recommending it actually for a few years based on the recommendations of some people I respect. And I finally was like, I got to read that book if I'm going to keep recommending it. And despite the fact that the author clearly has some negative feelings perhaps about Scrum and Agile, sounds like the author may have had some bumpy interactions with organizations that were doing Scrum. I think the book has some awesome and important insights. The book is called Escaping the Build Trap. And the basic premise in the book, I think, can be summed up as this. Many organizations are focusing way too much time and energy trying to optimize their ability to build stuff, right? We think the way that we're going to do better is to be able to build more faster. But in fact, if we're not doing that learning, if we're not doing the experiments and the validation, then a large percentage of what we're building is going to end up being low value stuff. And so if we really want to have better results, we're likely better off not focusing quite so much of our energy on how do we build faster and more, but on how do we validate our assumptions and beliefs about what is going to be valuable and what we should build. So I think that's a big deal. And then another one that I see all the time, literally every organization where I have done coaching kind of at this level, at the portfolio level, every single organization I've worked with has had way too much work in progress. We've got lots of initiatives and they're all moving forward in parallel slowly. And I often refer to it as the tyranny of good ideas, because we find these really good ideas. Oh my God, we should do this. Yeah, we should do that. That would be so awesome. It seems really important. Let's do it. And we find some team that's willing to start on it. And then that initiative's off and running. And then another good idea shows up. We're like, oh my God, that's a good idea, right? And we find a team that's willing to start on it and it's off and running. And very often this is happening in a very decentralized, disorganized way, right? Where we don't actually have very strong central portfolio control, and different business units are doing their own things, and different teams and their product owners. And gosh, as we're getting big, there's a lot of efficiency to be gained by making some higher level decisions about where do we want to focus our energy and effort, and limiting how many things we pursue at once. Because it turns out with the same amount of resource, right, same amount of human power, you can get the same body of work done faster typically if you limit the work in progress, and you get individual initiatives finished sooner, which means you start capturing the value from them sooner if you're working on them with reduced WIP as opposed to many in parallel. So those are some random thoughts from Chris and observations. I'm curious to just open it up to what's on your mind. You've had this experience. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? And just like wave your hands and I'll call on you, or drop a question in the chat. And I'm going to put just a bar in the chat to let me know that this is where like the general Q&A stuff is starting. Okay, so go ahead. I saw someone waving their hands. Wave your hands again. Who was that? All right, Ram.
Hey, so how do we establish what is an optimal WIP for the initiatives, right? It's proportionate to the number of engineers, to etc. What is an optimal ratio there?
The best approach I have ever encountered, and if anybody else has like seen better stuff than this, please chime in, is through experiment. It's the standard Kanban approach of step one, visualize it so we actually know what our current WIP is, right? We know what work is flowing through the system. You'd be surprised how many big companies don't actually know. But then once you have it visualized and you can see, then impose a WIP limit And you can even start with what is really happening right now, right? If you look and you say, oh my goodness, we got 12 initiatives in progress. Okay, right now our WIP limit is 12. We're not going to let any new initiative in until something else is cleared out. But then start reducing it and monitor at what rate are things getting done, and just fine tune, right? Ideally, you keep reducing the WIP limit until you hit a point of diminishing returns, right? And then you loosen up a little bit. But I haven't found anything that's worked better than that kind of like first make it visible and then start to experiment approach. But I know we've got a lot of really experienced people here. So wave your hands if you want to pile in on this, if you've got an approach that you've seen or liked or have used.
I just have a question, for being a portfolio in managing and using the Agile. The other initiatives comes as from meeting with what the company value as the highest to the customer, and then you try to work on all these initiatives at the same time. And what do you run across when things don't go according to plan?
Well, I would say things rarely go according to plan, and in part due to the fact that all of this work that we're doing is very much in the complex domain, right? I was making a comment earlier about real life is complex and my game is simply complicated, but the complex domain where where we really do our work is known as the domain of unknown unknowns, meaning at the time we make the plan, we don't know what we don't know. And so the best we can do is inspect and adapt. And it's also a way in which, for example, reducing work in progress and investing to learn as well as to earn are both really valuable, because reducing work in progress has an effect of helping to limit the effect of those surprises. And the investing to learn helps us kind of de-risk things, because if we can identify potential areas of risk and then do little pieces of work whose real goal is to discover information that will help de-risk those areas, those things can help. But I would say you kind of have to expect to be surprised and plan accordingly. And that's challenging. And it's challenging for leaders who still kind of model their business based on approaches that work in complicated environments, right? And we're seeing less and less of this over time as the people who are rising up to higher levels of leadership in organizations are people who've kind of grown up in kind of more of the current business era and technology era. But for folks who've been around a long time, the sorts of organizations that we were running, the sorts of products and services we were doing were less deep in the complex domain. And so some of the, management approaches that used to work don't work so well anymore, right? In the environment where it's merely complicated, and then I'm going to go to Patricia, works real well with, make a elaborate but exacting plan and then put controls in place to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And gosh, that just doesn't work in the complex domain. So Patricia, what have you got?
Oh, I think one of the terms that, in the industry that I've been working in was called a buzzword, and I don't think it is a buzzword, is pivot. Constantly learning to turn, to adjust, to modify, to change, to adapt. And I think this past year, not quite a year yet, we still have 2 more months to go, but this past year, I think it's been a huge wake-up call for organizations from small to big. The unknowns hit them in the face so hard with the pandemic. And they're still, even though we've been, and we're talking like major corporate, I don't work for one, but my son does, huge corporations that you would think in a 6 months range would get things up and running and going and everything would be going. 10 months later and they're still stumbling and struggling and figuring it out because it's constantly changing.
Yeah, yeah. And those big organizations themselves have increased complexity, which actually makes them, you know,
Right.
harder to steer and harder to pivot.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And there's this really interesting tension, right? Dennis was talking about the tension between focusing on big things and getting them done versus getting things done early versus focusing on discovery.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got a big company, there's a real tension in terms of how should we organize it, because the more centralized we go, then the easier it is to do things like limiting initiative work in progress, right? Doing like corporate-wide portfolio management, because just the power structure allows that. The flip side is, though, the more you centralize, the slower the response times tend to get because the level of bureaucracy to implement that control.
Right.
Whereas if you decentralize, individual groups can pivot and change quickly. But then if you want to pivot the whole company, coordinating those more independent groups, it becomes harder. So it's interesting. Prashant asks, do companies use this for portfolio planning currently? No. You're the first big group ever to play this game. So Dennis and Paula were among a very small group of people who were the crash test people who play tested this game multiple times before I unleashed it on all of you, but you were the first big group to play it. So, but you know, if you'd like your group to use this game, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to run it for your group. And honestly, the instructions are in the game. Take a copy of the spreadsheet to your company and use it. You know, my only request is don't charge money to have other people play it. But if you want to use it internally, just take it and use it. Which other games have you designed? Many. Agile Learning Labs is all about using games and simulations for learning. I see Raj's hand. Raj, what do you got?
Chris, speaking of the portfolio Kanban, it just reminded me. So when we started Scale Agile, few of our PIs, we were able to accomplish only, at about 60 to 67% of our planned features. Then we start, so then as a part of one of our Inspector and App, we started streamlining the grooming sessions and established a cadence. And we also used techniques like BizGIF. And once we started doing it, probably I think in the next PI, we were able to go as close as 90% of the planned features that were delivered. So thanks for bringing that point, and it kind of reminded how it's so close to what we were doing here. So thought about bringing it to your notice.
Nice. And I put the acronym in the chat that he mentioned. It's weighted shortest job first, which is an approach to prioritizing that's used a lot in SAFe. It's perfectly it existed before SAFe, and it's a really great tool for thinking about like which things should we work on. And fundamentally, weighted shortest job first just comes down to ROI. Right? If we have a business value estimate, and we have an effort estimate, we can calculate an ROI, and we're basically saying things with higher ROI, in general, we should try to do those first, right? Because they get more weight, because they're more valuable, and then if they're shorter, you know, that reduces the bottom side of the ROI calculation, right? Return over investment. The investment is just how much work do we have to do. Yeah, I will comment on the PI planning. The place I always start with groups in terms of like we do our planning, and we, you know, given our current velocity, what do the teams think they can get done? Just looking at that. And then if we want to make a list of like, these are the actual deliverables that we have high confidence will deliver, in this, this increment, my starting point is always 50%, right? If we say, oh, the math says theoretically we can do all these, I say, okay, the top half of those are the ones that we should tell the business that we have pretty high confidence will get done in this increment. And it's not that the team's not going to do that much work. It's just that, boy, in a complex environment, new high priority things are likely to land on us and, push the bottom things out. And then over time, an organization can figure out like, ooh, what is their real number, right? If you start with 50%, it's a good starting point. And then over time, if you just simply track, right, at the end of the increment, look at the things that actually went out the door, look back at the plan you made at the beginning and just mark off like, oh, which of those were in the plan and then which things in the plan didn't get out the door. And you start to learn your number. Cool. I would like to take just a moment for a really blatant word from our sponsor, kind of. So I work at Agile Learning Labs. We do Scrum training and coaching. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, there's a link in the chat. And there are 2 discount codes I want to share real quick. The first one is the one that I'm most excited about. If you're unemployed, we're trying to help. So we have a special discount code, Job Seeker. You can use that when you register for any of our public classes and you get in at half price. Now, the deal is it really is for people who are not currently working. So don't take that back to your company and say, hey, we can get every bit of our company trained. Let's use this discount code. Yeah, it's not the idea. For that situation, everyone can use. I saw it on Meetup. So if you use that discount code, that'll save you a little bit of money. Okay, end of commercial. Just had to sneak that in. Sales
Hey, Chris.
off. Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Gopal. It's been a while since we have met. Chris, can you talk a little bit about the whole lean portfolio management by SAFe and the portfolio management strategy that, we played the game and things like that? Maybe just, share your experience, and I invite other people in this call to share their experience as well.
Yeah, and I will say I am not an expert on SAFe. I have worked with quite a number of companies who were using SAFe, right, or who said they were using SAFe, the actual practices that they were implementing were very different, company to company to company. The thing that I've seen in general that are the patterns that are successful are this, kind of at the portfolio level, taking fundamentally a Kanban approach and doing that by first trying to make all the initiatives, the stuff that's flowing through your organization visible. Now, if your teams are doing Scrum and or Kanban, that's going to help a lot because there should be backlogs out there that you can then, pull information from to visualize for your portfolio level. And then once you can actually see what's going on, the big wins typically are around reducing work in progress, looking into, are we investing enough in like researching and de-risking things before we make big bets? Those are like the big areas. And then an additional area that seems real common is just, are we paying enough attention to technical debt? Many big places, small places too, but I see it a lot in big places, have a lot of like legacy tech debt, things like we're still doing manual testing, on big old applications that have lots of functionality. And so it takes a long time to test them. And, investing in paying that down so that the cost of development and the cost of releasing goes down. And these days that tends to go under the bucket of DevOps. But having said all that, like I am not a SAFe certified anything. And so I'd be interested to hear from those of you who are, because I know we've got some folks here who know their SAFe really well. what are your thoughts? What are your experiences at the portfolio management of SAFE? So wave your hands if you want to jump in on that one. Or for those of you who don't have hands to wave, feel free to go ahead and unmute and just join the conversation, because I see lots of folks who are just their names.
Hey, it's Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah, so I don't know. SAFE's LPM approach is fairly new, and they're making changes to it. If you go back to the Project Management Institute, PMI, and how we did portfolio management back in the day, it's very similar. You know, we're still using the Kanban approach, like you said before, and doing all that. But depending upon the business model you're in and the industry, they're going to have different metrics and decision points as they go forward. Like, you know, a bank, an insurance company, a software company, so forth. They're going to make decisions based on different metrics, right? So ROI is not going to mean much for a large retail bank. Okay, they're more risk, and they're more like the customer is. So a lot of companies now are moving to what I call customer journeys and getting customer data from the customer, and then they use that information to make investment decisions on large funded projects. And a lot of big companies now are still funding at the project. Many of them are moving to the product centric funding model, right? But I would say most large companies aren't there yet. So the LPM model is as popular, and SAFE is popular for those companies, I think, that are in this kind of typical organization structure, and where they have lots of project managers, lots of program managers, and how they fund and invest what they do. So I see the LPM kind of, fitting that gap for those organizations that are still, having to hold on for various reasons, regulatory reasons, whatsoever, to the old investment decision choices. That's been my experience.
Yeah. And and business value is really interesting when you think about ROI. The kind of first thought that everybody has, and it's just the first, I'll call it the first naive thought, is that that's revenue or even profit. And it turns out it's more complex than that. I dropped a link in the chat. Folks might be interested in to an article on business value myths. How business value actually is a much broader, multidimensional construct that includes not only monetary things like revenue, cost savings, profit, but also non-revenue things, at least things that aren't near-term revenue, such as risk reduction and compliance and breaking into new markets and right. There are many things that can factor into that. And then as for a kind of pragmatic way for then, well, how do we create value estimates? There's a video that I dropped a link into right after that. So yeah, totally agree with everything you just said, Jay. It's
Hey, Chris. It's
I think go ahead, please.
Hi, Chris. It's Sandra McCauley Robinson, Agile Chef.
Hey
there.
Haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, have a portfolio. We currently have 18 projects in the portfolio, and we're having a lot of success using mob programming, which actually works beautifully over virtual collaboration.
Yes.
And we're finding that if we use it, if we look across our portfolio and we find modules that are going to be very high value across the different projects, that if we use mob programming for those, we're really finding that it's helping us not build up technical debt, that it's really helping us to accelerate what we're doing. And because we're able to take these modules and learnings from things and kind of build on that through the portfolio, it's really helped us find like another gear in what we're doing. I'm wondering if that's something that you're seeing in some of your travels, or if that's something that resonates with what you're up to.
So it's something that, so mob programming, and by the way, I dropped a link in the chat to a friend of mine and somebody I think a lot of you know, Llewellyn Falco, who is a recognized expert in mobbing. He was one of the earliest adopters, and teaches it in the whole bit. My experience so far is that, at least with the clients I've worked with, they're a little curious, they're very skeptical, and the most I've seen clients that I've worked with be willing to jump into it is like short-term like experiments, or, oh my goodness, something's on fire. Let's get everybody in the same room until the fire's put out. And Llewellyn's experience, as well as our good friend who invented mob programming, whose name right now is escaping me. Somebody help me. Somebody in this room definitely knows. It's the no estimates guy.
Woody Zoll.
Thank you. Thank you. They've been working with companies that are like doing this full time. It sounds like you're using it extensively. And they report like really amazing results, like organization productivity going up, more things getting done faster, which is, I believe it. And I haven't had the opportunity to coach or work with an organization that's extensively using mobs. So actually reach out to me. I would love to like get a chance to peek in at your teams and fly on the wall and learn. It's definitely related to swarming. I would say mobbing is swarming taken to the nth degree. So mobbing is the whole team sitting together at one computer, solving one problem. So basically, if you think of it as user stories, they've got one user story that's in progress, the whole team's sitting at one computer until that story's done. And when Woody and Llewellyn first approached me at a conference, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, somewhere in there, and told me about this new thing that they were doing, I thought they were out of their minds, right? Like, I love pair programming, did it for years. I think it's like, love it. But I thought they were taking it to a crazy extreme. Turns out they were onto something. Sounds like your experience, would be aligned with that.
It's worth noting that there's an interesting protocol that goes with mob programming of changing the person at the keyboard every 3 to 5 minutes. And the person at the keyboard is not allowed to think. They're only the typist for the rest of the room. And there's a bunch of protocols and working agreements around it that I find, I haven't worked with a mobbing team either. I think they're really interesting.
We've adapted some of those, and in part because we're working with virtual collaboration, also with a team that's distributed on different continents. And so we don't adhere exactly to what you've just described, but it's fascinating what we come up with, and also how it's kept the bugs just to a real minimum, and how much fun we're having. We set specific times to do this as part of our practice. And I would say that people look forward to it the way you would if you have really creative retrospective games or any other kinds of games. And it just really surprised me. But we've been doing it now for about 3 years. So thanks so much.
Rock on. That's fantastic.
So does that, I'm
and
sorry.
then I'll go to Patricia.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Patricia.
So that's been my biggest struggle through this whole thing. I'm a very people person. Walk into your office, sit down in the chair, let's have a conversation, grab them by the sleeve and drag them into another. I mean, it's like I'm so interactive that way that I'm having a really challenging time doing, like, everything everybody's saying is like, oh my God. And then I'm like, how do you implement it? I can't just bust into your room and say, we got to talk about this. This is, and to a certain degree, I think some of it is going to go away eventually once, the pandemic dies down, but some of it is not going to go away. People are look at you. You got a whole bunch of people from all over the United States in a virtual environment discussing topics that are very interesting. But how do you pull that together when it's just been very challenging for me? I'm so used to.
Yeah, I hear that. And not even just all over the United States. We've got folks here tonight from all over the world.
True.
Alberto from Nigeria. Yep. I love that.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. A couple of thoughts on that. One of the things that the pandemic has given us is much wider use of these collaboration tools like Zoom. And so using that retrospective is a really good way to start to perhaps introduce some thinking about, hey, we do things like our retrospective on Zoom. How could we do other parts of our, are there ways we could be collaborating more in other parts of our work? And mobbing and pairing work great over Zoom, right? And so that's something that could be tried. One way to get a team or a group to dip their toes in that water is to try to set up some like learning hours, which is basically like, hey, let's all get together for an hour, whole team, and we're going to do some work together. But the goal is as much to learn as it is to do the thing. So for example, maybe there's some interesting bug, and let's all get together and see if like together we can't kill that bug. And maybe as we're doing that, we might try some of these techniques from mobbing, right? Like Ron was talking about, like, hey, let's use the mobbing protocol where, we rotate who's got the hands on the keyboard and other people are the ones making
sharing the screen and all that.
Yeah. And it's a way to get people to taste these things in a way that's not so threatening. And then maybe after they do that a couple of times and it goes well, maybe they start saying, hey, we could be doing that more often. So, oh, okay.
Like we just did, because I knew nothing about anything that we just did.
Excellent. So I think this is probably a real good time for me to turn it over to Ron and Jay. I'm not sure what housekeeping stuff you all do at the end of your meetup, but I notice we're getting towards the end of the time box. So I'll just say thank you all for coming and playing the game. And I hope this was a good use of your time and valuable to you. And I'm really thrilled to have been asked to be here. Thank you.
And massive thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
I love the Zoom applause.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was great, Chris. Thank you very much. So thank you everyone for joining. We do have more sessions. We have, I think 7 in February because we've participated in the Agile 20 Reflect Festival, which is a global festival. So like I said earlier, so we're going to have a lot of sessions in February. So please come back. You can go, on Meetup and see who's talking and what we're going to talk about, right? And we're going to have much more this year too. So maybe Chris will come back later this year or whatever. But we're going to have a lot more guests this coming year. And we've been getting lucky. Last year, I think we got lucky. We got some, I would say, prominent people in the field to come and talk. So hopefully we can do the same thing this year. So again, thank you. Thank you, Chris, and your team so much. That was wonderful. That was valuable. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next time. So the recording will be sent out, and I'll send out everything to everyone. Go ahead.
Hey, Jay, there was a question in the chat.
Oh.
They want to know the link of the meetup. So it's the Enterprise Agile in the meetup, or you can go to agile20festival.org for the 500 events globally that's happening.
Yeah. It's Agile 20 Reflect. What is it? Reflect Festival. So if you do a search on Agile 20 Reflect Festival, that'll be the only thing that comes up. You can check it out. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I am the North America ambassador, and so is Gopal. All right. So I'll put my email in here. Yeah, and Chris, if you want to talk, you let me know. I can hook you up in there in February somewhere too. So all right. So thank you, everyone. We'll send out the recording soon, and it was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Hey.
All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everybody. It was a pleasure to be here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Learned a lot.